another series on thriving with allergies. My guest today is Green Grown Meals, and the face behind that amazing, super creative page is Miss Jodi, and she is here. So she loves Katy Perry, so I'm playing her raw for her.
How are you?
Hi.
How are you?
Have you? I'm playing your jam.
I know, I love this music. This is a good way to start. It's only 10:30 here, so this is a good way to start my day.
Okay, let me introduce the music so I can hear you. Okay. Hi, Jodi. Good to have you. Thank you so much for coming on to do this with me.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
And happy Allergy Awareness Month.
Yes, it's been a great one. I feel like there's been a lot of activity on Instagram, which I love seeing. So many people raising awareness about food allergies.
Yes, it's even more important in Nigeria because a lot of people do not know that there are Nigerians living with allergies. So the food industry needs to be aware, the hospitals, the schools need to be aware. So that's why it's important for me to do this. And even after this, I have to continue creating the awareness to keep our children safe.
Absolutely. I love that you're doing that. There's so much awareness here in the United States. I think it's become so much more of a popular topic, especially with kids and in schools. But food allergies are on the rise everywhere around the world. And I think everyone who's doing their part like you, it's amazing because it's a big deal, and parents are concerned, and it's something we want people to understand and really be able to help those kids so that they can feel normal, which is always what my goal is.
Yeah, thank you so much. So let's dive in because we have just 30 minutes. Okay, so the first question is, what exactly is allergy? What's the science behind food allergies? I've had a lot of questions from moms on my DM, ranging from, oh, my child's teeth turned brown after I fed her this food. Is that an allergic reaction? So a lot of questions. Would you please explain, give us the science?
So just so I can give you a little bit about my background. So, you know, I am a registered dietitian, a pediatric registered dietitian, and I work with kids with food allergies. I'm not a doctor and I'm not an allergist, although I have a lot of experience in the field. So I'll sort of give you my perspective on what a food allergy is and what some of the reactions can look like. But it's very important, if you think your child does have any sort of food allergy, that you do want to take them to a doctor and find out for sure. Food allergies are when your body reacts to a food as something foreign. So instead of reacting to a bacteria, let's say when your child is sick, it actually reacts to some sort of protein in a food and has a reaction as if that's a foreign body. Now, if you don't have a food allergy, that wouldn't happen. Your body would just, you would eat that food and you would feel fine. But for a person with a food allergy, your body is going to treat that food as if it's a foreign body and attack it. And that can cause a very wide range of symptoms, anything from rashes to hives, to more serious ones where you can have difficulty breathing and your mouth can get swollen. The scary thing about food allergies is that the reaction isn't always the same. So the first time is generally not as severe a reaction as other times. And just because someone has a reaction the first time one way that doesn't seem serious, doesn't mean that it couldn't be more serious the second time.
Wow, okay. Wow, so it's very key that as parents, we observe, and once we catch it, we take the child to the hospital or we eliminate that food until we are sure exactly what that is. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I remember the first time I gave my son milk. he reacted rather quickly, and we landed in the hospital. He had hives. He couldn't breathe. He kept coughing. It was a very scary day, but
How old is
thankfully
he?
we were told now he is 2.5, two plus, almost 3.
Okay.
But then he was 6 months old.
Okay.
So it was the first meal we gave him after exclusive breastfeeding.
Okay.
Yeah, so that we cut that on time and eliminated milk and then several other things. So tell us from your own experience, because I know you are also an allergy mom. Oh my
I
God,
know.
your food is beautiful. And I'm
Thank you.
guessing that stems from feeding picky eaters.
Yes.
Just tell us
So
about yourself as an allergy mom. And I
So,
know.
so, so I have 3 kids. My oldest is 11, and my youngest, who's only 4, is actually the one with the food allergy. So it's really interesting. I've worked in the field for a long time. I've had a ton of experience with other parents with kids with food allergies, and working with schools and helping plan menus for kids that are allergic to certain foods. But as anyone knows who has a child with a food allergy, as you know, it's a completely different experience as a parent, and it is very scary. The scary part about it is that, your son, right? Your son is the one that
Yes,
has an
my
allergy.
son. Yes.
Sometimes it happens very young, like at 6 months old, and other times it can happen later on in life with the food your child has always been eating. So my
Wow.
daughter got to the age of 3, which people sometimes sort of say if you get to 3, then you're okay, and didn't have a food allergic reaction until she was 3. So she had been eating peanuts her whole life, and then all of a sudden one day she had a reaction. So it was very scary because I thought she was fine, as I have thought my other kids were fine, and she had this allergic reaction, and it's frightening. She was not able to breathe, and she threw up. We were out somewhere, so I had to run to go get her some medicine, and I was pretty sure that it was a food allergy, at which it did turn out to be. I think feeding kids, there's always challenges with picky eaters and different kids liking different types of foods. And then you add a food allergy on top of it, and it can make it even more complicated. So that's always my goal. And, what I hope to, help today with is some ideas, for moms, whether you have kids with allergies or allergies and picky eaters, or even just picky eaters, how to sort of tackle some of those things and really help feed your kids so that they eat well and they get all of the nutrition that they need so that they're able to grow and thrive.
Wow. So, like you said, it's tough enough to feed these kids, then add an allergy and it becomes
very difficult.
A whole different, it becomes a whole different game. So what were the major challenges you've had on your journey to feeding your child with allergies, and how have you been able to overcome?
So, one challenge is that, again, for anybody who's watching, when you have a child with a food allergy, it's very scary when you have to leave them with somebody else. Again, whether that's at school or with a family member, it's frightening. And, it's something that you think about all the time as a parent with a food allergy. Every time your child eats something, you're always concerned. I think a lot of parents with food allergies really try and stick to foods that they know are safe. Which in one way is great because you feel like those foods are okay with your child, but sometimes it gets to be too small, too narrow a group of foods, and of course you want to make sure your child is still growing and getting all the nutrition that they need. So I think it's important to sort of be able to figure out, in a way that makes a parent comfortable, other foods that your child might be able to eat. So I think as a parent of a child with a food allergy, it's very frightening when you leave your child with other people. So, one thing that I highly recommend, and again, I don't know if, your son, how much you have to leave him yet, but really labeling, and whether it's labeling foods in your home that are safe, or having a shelf of foods, that are safe for your child to eat, but making sure that it's very clear anywhere that your child is, which foods are okay for them to eat, because you just don't want somebody to make a mistake. So I think that's a big challenge.
Label the food. If you're going to leave your child with anybody, whether in school or even at home, label the food. Then I also found that it's important that you separate cooking wares. Do you do that too?
Separate cooking. I didn't hear the
Do,
end of it.
do you separate cutleries and cookwares?
So again, that really depends on your child, how severe their food allergy is, and also what they're allergic to. My daughter's allergic to peanuts, so I try and limit how much they're used in my house, which again can be a challenge. If your child's allergic to something that's more of a staple in your home, it's harder to limit that. For me, I want my other kids to continue to eat those foods, so I do keep them at home, but I'm not cooking with peanuts. If you do have a child who's allergic to a food that you're, let's say, cooking with often, whether it's eggs or some sort of a grain or milk, I do think it's important, that you have separate cutlery, or that usually the best thing is to cook for that child first before you use that ingredient. So that you know that there isn't any cross contact, which is when the allergen touches a knife or a pot and then touches your child's food. So again, it's part of food allergies in children is really understanding how severe their reactions are, so that how much you need to be cleaning in between cooking, or how much you need to be using different utensils. And that's something they can often tell when your child is, examined for some sort of a food allergy. But yes, often you do have to do separate cooking and utensils, which also cooking, we all know, can be a lot of work and a lot of time. And then if you have to make separate meals or wash things in between cooking, can make it even more challenging to be feeding a family.
Yeah. But that's a great tip that you just gave us. Cook the child's meal first, take it away before you cook for the rest of the family. So you're probably still using the same pot.
Yes.
But those are one of the ways to save time. Yes.
Exactly.
Taking the child.
Exactly.
Okay, so how can moms who have kids with allergies, especially multiple allergies, how can they make great nutritional choices for their children?
So I think that's a great question. One thing you want to do if your child has a food allergy, I think the first thing that we often do is we think about all the foods they can't eat, but I highly recommend trying to focus on the foods they can eat, because often there are still a lot of foods. So you can make a list of the different types of foods that your child can eat, as opposed to thinking about the ones that they can't. I think it's important that if your child is allergic to a specific food or to several different foods, to make sure that they're getting the nutrients that they lose from that food, getting them elsewhere. So for example, if your son is allergic to milk, we really think about milk provides calcium, it provides vitamin D, it provides protein. So you want to make sure that if they're not getting those nutrients from that food, that you think about where else they could get them. So, again, I don't know what sort of, if there are milk alternatives in Nigeria. Here in the United States, we do have some other types of milks, plant-based milks, where you can have, let's say, soy milk, or you could have almond milk that also often replace those nutrients. But it isn't necessary to have those. There are so many other foods that would provide the similar nutrition. So for example, calcium is very abundant in dark green leafy vegetables. So if that's something, that you have access to, that's a great thing. Fish, particularly with the bones, is great for calcium and vitamin D. Eggs are a wonderful source of vitamin D. So oftentimes you can get the same nutrition, you just have to find other places to get it. So I think that that's important for a child with food allergies, is really thinking about where else you can get the missing nutrition. But I do think it's important for parents, whether your kids have a food allergy or not, to really be trying to provide a varied diet. So one of the most important things for healthy eating isn't just eating, let's say, green vegetables. It's eating a lot of variety. And the reason is every food and every food group provides different nutrition. So like something, let's say like yams or corn could be really nutritious in themselves, but if you're just eating those foods all the time, you're really limiting what nutrition you're getting. And a lot of kids, of course, have like their couple favorite foods and they want to eat those all the time. But it's really important to try and help them branch out and really eat a wider variety of nutrients. And of course, I love products like yours, which make it, more accessible for parents to have products where they know that they're safe and they know that they're getting a lot of nutrition. And that also, of course, makes it so much easier for feeding kids with food allergies, having safe products like that. So I feel very strongly in supporting, brands like yours where parents can feel really comfortable feeding their kids and be providing them something nutritious.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So the first step is focus on what they can eat.
Absolutely.
Because there are lots and lots of other foods out there apart from, but sometimes, you're sad that they can't eat this, that they'll feel left out. So we focus on that and then forget that that's just one food or two food or even five. There are lots of other foods, but not to say that it's easy. However, focusing on the other foods, creating a list, just like you suggested, would go a long way in making the journey easier.
Absolutely.
Then making sure that you also focus on the nutrition the child isn't getting from the food they are allergic to. Yeah, then find out where to get those. So, so that means that as a mom, you just need to learn the basics of nutrition. Yes, for me, I had to take a course from Stanford School of Medicine on child nutrition and cooking. I had to, to learn the basics. Thank you. To learn the basics so that I can now see how I can build his own foods with what I have available. So you were asking about the milk, the plant-based milk we have in Nigeria. So I know that tiger nut is gaining some popularity in the US as well. It grows in Nigeria.
Oh, wonderful!
Tiger nut, yes, it does. It does. So we have tiger nuts, we have soy, but I've read some rather negative research on soy. Well, what do you say about soy?
So there is definitely some concern with having too much soy. In some countries, they eat it often, and it seems to be okay. I generally recommend with kids trying to limit it to maybe 3 times a week. So if it's soy milk or tofu, or edamame, which I don't know if those are popular foods in Nigeria, but any sort of soy foods. I think a few times a week is absolutely fine and a nutritious addition to a child's diet. I always worry with having one food all the time because we never know if it's safe. So I like mixing things up. So whether it's sometimes tiger nuts, sometimes it's a soy, or again, getting the calcium, let's say, from somewhere else, like a green vegetable. One other thing you mentioned, which I think is so important and something I focus a lot on, is making sure that the child, whether, it's your child in your family or with friends, that they don't feel left out. I never want kids with food allergies to feel like they're excluded. So again, I think it's important to help. And again, depending on your child's age, sometimes they can help with things that would make them feel more included, whether it's, when they're at school or somewhere else, but trying to find foods that are similar to what everyone else is eating so they don't feel like they always have to have something that's different. So I think that that's really important psychologically for kids with food allergies. I think it can be challenging, and we want them to feel as included as possible. I'm sorry if you can hear my kids in the background. I hit my kids. I hear they're doing the work right now, and I hear a lot of commotion in my house.
Oh my God. So how are you doing with homeschooling?
I mean, I think the same way everyone has been dealing with this, which is, whenever I'm doing something like this, I say, please, just give me a little bit of time where you don't need my help, or you don't have any questions. I'll help you when I'm done.
Yes.
But I actually think it's pretty amazing that people have sort of become more accepting, especially as a mom, that all of us, even though we work, we do have this, separate life. It's not like make believe. We really are at the same time, dealing with kids and everything else going on. So I think everyone's sort of dealing with the same challenges of homeschooling and trying to figure out how to work with our kids around. So,
oh my.
But
Okay, so
I do think that there's a lot of ways to help kids with food allergies so that they don't feel excluded, and
that's
really raising them to, when making the food allergy, obviously making it a priority, but trying to not make it something where everybody is so afraid, or where you really keep them with this very limited diet, but really trying to help them in a safe way expand their diet so they don't feel like they grow up not being able to eat any foods.
yeah. Thank you so much. I've learned so much already, and one important thing I've learned today is to give my child varied foods.
Absolutely.
And you gave one very crucial reason. If the food isn't safe for anything, whether it's due to the pesticides or whatever,
Right.
the child doesn't have so much accumulation of that. So thank you so much. That's one very important thing I'm
Yeah.
going to apply in our diet at
I think
home.
that's I feel like I always feel like if people take that away, that makes me very happy, because I really do think that eating a varied diet for all of us, whether we have food allergies or not, is really important, not just to get a lot of nutrition, but again, also to avoid the pesticides or anything that could potentially be bad. And the best way for us to do that is to eat a wide variety of foods. So I think that that's a great thing for everybody to eat a wide variety of foods, whether you have a food allergy or not.
Not so. Okay, thank you very much. So the
Absolutely.
last question is this,
Yes.
please. We know that there's no doubt about this. When it comes to picky eaters, you are an expert. So can you give us your most wonderful tip on how to manage picky eaters?
So I think the most important thing I could say about picky eaters is that you want to continuously expose your child to new foods, and that doesn't have to mean eating them. So I think that people just hope that they're going to give their child new foods and that they're going to want to eat them. But my best tip I can say is that giving your kids food, even to play with or touch, is a really great step towards being a better eater. So that's why if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see I'm always posting things about playing with food. And your child doesn't have to eat it. All they have to do is touch it. It could be with cookie cutters I use a lot. We put things on skewers. It could be any sort of playing with the food. It could even be just helping you make dinner and not even eating the food themselves. So it could be washing vegetables or helping cut vegetables if they're old enough. But I think that the more exposure you give a child to a food, the more comfortable that they get. And a lot of time that learning to eat a new food could be 10 times or 20 times, or just playing with it, helping you wash the things. And those are the things that help kids really learn to eat new foods. And what happens often is that parents, they give their child the food, the child doesn't want to eat it, which is very normal. Kids are picky by nature. They're very skeptical. And then they assume that because their child didn't eat the food, that they must not like it and they never serve it again. And that doesn't give your child a chance to become more comfortable and familiar with it. So again, I think the best way to do that is in a way that doesn't feel like there's any pressure, which often just means playing with the food. So I think playing with food is a great way to get your child to be a better eater. And if they're old enough to help, which I think most kids, even a 2.5-year-olds, can help, I think the more you let them help and play with the food and wash things, the more likely they will eat things as they get older.
Thank you so much. Thank
Of
you.
course.
You have been of great help to us. Every tip you shared has been so insightful. So
Thank you.
let you go now. So does anybody have any questions? Ogechuku says coconut milk. Yeah, coconut milk is also a great option.
Absolutely.
And I like to add chia seeds to my plant-based milk to increase the protein. Is that okay?
To add
Chia
what?
seeds. Chia seeds.
Chia seeds.
Yes.
Absolutely. I think that I love any sort of seeds. I think they're one of the most nutritious foods that you can eat. They're really packed with vitamins and minerals. So again, if you feel like your child is missing out on some sort of food because of a food allergy, or even just because they're a picky eater, chia seeds, hemp seeds, flax seeds, any of those, you can put in milk, you can put them in cereal, you can put them in any sort of breads that you make. I think those are a wonderful thing to add, and they give the kids so much nutrition. So absolutely, I think coconut milk with chia seeds, if your child likes that, that's a great way to get nutrition into their diet. So I always recommend any sort of seeds if they don't have any allergy to them. I think they're wonderful for nutrition.
All right. Thank you so much, Miss Jodi.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you for having.
you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. And it was fun. It was fun to be on and to have a little quiet for my kids. So I hope you guys stay well there. And if anybody has any questions after, you can always send me a message if your child has a specific food allergy and you have a question about what they might be missing or how to get that. I love doing this, and I love helping people feel more comfortable and enjoy feeding their kids, because it should be fun. You know, we all love food, and it should be something that we can enjoy and that we don't have to just be afraid of.
Yeah, and from my course on from Stanford, one important thing she mentioned, Maya Adams, that was the professor. She said that food is not just about nutrition. Right. There's also the social aspect to food. So it's the families bond over food, whether making or eating the food. So
it's so true. It's so much more than just to give you nourishment. It feeds our bodies, it feeds our souls, and everything with your family. And holidays always revolves around food. And I just always want kids with food allergies to feel like they can be part of it, and for families to find a way to do it in a way that makes everybody still enjoy and love food. Yeah. So thank you.
We keep saying bye-bye and coming back like best friends.
Take care.
Thank you so much. Bye. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye. Oh, my. Yes, it was. It was an insightful one. Thank you, Agas. Thank you, everyone who joined. Thank you. So you heard her. If you have any questions about feeding your child with allergies, please send me a DM or send her a DM. Guys, please follow her. Let her just start getting those notifications right now. Thank you all so very much. I think our last session is on Thursday, and then we'll be talking about allergy safety. So what can you do to keep your child who has allergies safe, whether at home, in school, or at parties, wherever. And also, apart from food, there are other types of allergies that can be fatal. So we'll be learning about all of that on Thursday. Bye.